Hello, everyone. Today is Saturday, July 19th. This is week 15, day 4 of Hotel Evening and Weekend Platoon. And today we're going to talk about deploying a Dockerized full stack application onto AWS. Before we before we jump into the lesson, though, there's something that I wanted to bring up to everyone here. Just very simple. Everyone can see my BS code, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the other day I was flipping back and forth between my work computer and my personal computer, and I was trying to figure out why my eyes were a little bit more strained with my personal computer, and I realized that I didn't change the font. So if you weren't aware of this, you can change the font, the default font of VS Code, but not only of your main window, but also your terminal. So the default is 12. I think that's way too small. So I would do something like font size, or wait, give me a second. If you're on a Mac, it's what is it, Command Shift P, right? And I would go to Open Settings and uh, text size. I would update that to 14. The default is 12. So font size, or what is it? Ah, here we go. Font size. Your default is 12. I think 14 feels a little bit more like it's easier on your eyes. Definitely don't strain your eyes. I know we all have like these nice 4K monitors, but I still think 12 is way too small. 14, some people even go 16. I think that's too big, but I think 14 is a nice middle ground. So if you haven't done that, I would recommend that, especially because when you become a dev, you're just looking at a screen all the time. So that's that one. But the integrated terminal that people use a lot, you can also change the font size of that, and they're different. Just because you change the font size on VS Code here uh, doesn't mean that your terminal will be the same. So you can do the same. I don't know why I X'd out of that, but you can go back to open settings, right? And then you can search, I think it's called integrated terminal. Um, integrated terminal with this. Integrated terminal font, maybe? Yeah, it's right here. Integrated font terminal, and you can move that to 14 as well. At the very least, do the terminal because I know it's really small, especially when you're trying to read output. Right? We never talk about it, font sizes on your VS Code, but I think that really helps. If you haven't done that, I'd recommend doing that. Oh, also, on your terminal, um, this applies to Windows or Mac, but if you're using a Mac, you're probably using iTerm too, because that's what we use. You can go to settings up here. If you look at my terminal, it's mega, like kind of big, because I want it that way. Because if I want to open a terminal, typically I have it on a separate monitor and I'm like loading things up. So I want that to be pretty big. You can go to, what is it, general? Sorry, I never do this. Because you do it once, right? And then you never like do it again. Settings should be in here. Is it profiles? Yeah, it's profiles, text. And right here on font, I have mine super big. Like my terminal that's not integrated with VS Code, I have it at 20. That's because sometimes I'll have 3 or 4 of them on a separate screen when I'm running like just a bunch of terminals for development. So I think that helps. You can go in here and do like Command plus and then make them really big or make them really small, but you can set the default size as well. And that's really handy. So my default text size is always 20. Because to me, like that feels comfortable and I don't have to strain my eyes, especially when I'm looking at a monitor like all the time. Make sense?
Yep.
Other things that eventually you'll get used to, we've already talked about aliases. Um, definitely play around with that, but also something we never talk about is also uh, key bindings or keyboard bindings. I don't know what you would call them. I'll give you a perfect example of one of my key bindings. It's Option F. Uh, that's the tab for me, right? Option F to kind of autocomplete because you use that a lot in terminals, right? It can be whatever you want it to be, but for me, if you look at that command, I never have to move my hands when I'm typing. Um, so that's just a common one that I use. People have a bunch of like weird shortcuts for like tiling, um, tiling windows on their screens. I'm not that high speed, so I don't have that. I typically just like drag it and resize it. I also run two separate monitors when I'm at work. So I don't feel like the need, plus my laptop. So I don't feel the need to do that. But if you want to mess around with that, it's going to make you definitely more efficient. And it's just more comfortable when you're just developing all the time. And something as small as like having all my ZSH when things are color coded. Here I can, command F completed or skip words. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that. Make your development environment as comfortable as possible. It's definitely worth the time to spend on it because once you like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like your terminal, once you configure it the way that you can, the way that you want, you can save that file somewhere, that bash file or that ZSH file, and then if you get a new computer or want to move those settings, you just transfer that file over and then source that file. And then guess what? Your terminal is exactly the same in both of those computers or all three of those computers. Make sense? Go ahead, Art. What's your question?
More of a comment. What I think would really be cool. I'm gonna dig around and see if I could find it. But it seems like we're always working at the bottom of the terminal. We have to hit clear to come back up where it's at the comes below. So if we could like hide the history up on top and always work in the middle, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I don't know if you can do that. Probably. I'm sure that seems like a common issue someone might be able to figure out or has already figured out. I haven't looked into that. But yeah, definitely look into that. I'm sure someone probably figured that out. But as far as your terminal, I have it at the bottom, but you could have it on the right hand side. I know a bunch of people that use ultra wides, and the terminal is always on the right hand side, just because they have so much space. That's how I like when I go to localhost. Like I always like my terminal on the right hand side, especially when I'm doing something really simple. And some people do that for VS Code as well. Anyway, just something to mess around with when you don't have anything else to do. Or you're trying to go to bed, it's 2 in the morning and it's just not working. You can get up and fix your bash file in your terminal. Eh? Eh? Nah, never mind. That's a bad joke. Anyway, questions about that? Nope. Alrighty. Uh, all right. So back to the lesson. All right. So deploying a Dockerized Django API to AWS EC2. All right. So just a little disclaimer. This lesson is actually kind of long. And you do have an assessment today. So I'm going to try to release the assessment around lunchtime. So full disclosure, you might not be able to finish this assignment and deploy it to AWS before I release the exam. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go over how to do this assignment. You would try to complete the assignment. And I think you're going to probably have to wait on the AWS if you want to get started on the AWS deployment, if you want to get started on your assessment. And that's personally what I would do. I'd take the morning, try to work through this, try to understand it, right? And then save the AWS deployment for later if I finish my assessment early. And by later, I mean sometimes later this weekend if I have time. Does that make sense? Yes?
Sounds good.
Okay. Because I went through this assignment yesterday, and with everything, it took me like 3 hours. So my guess is going to take you much longer with the deployment to AWS and everything. Yes? Okay. All right, so let's go. So the title of this lesson is called Deploying the Dockerized Django API to AWS EC2, but that's actually a little bit misleading because you're going to deploy more than a Django API, right? You're going to deploy kind of like a quasi full stack application, even though the front end is just static HTML. That's totally fine. I would classify that still as a full stack application, right? Because you got the front end, you got the API, you got the database, you have every layer. Make sense? Actually, you have a reverse proxy in this one with Nginx. So I have a little bit more than that, which is kind of like a middleware we'll discuss here in just 1 second. So you're going to be deploying kind of this full stack application to EC2. Okay, so today we're going to use Docker Compose and AWS to deploy your full stack application. We're going to containerize the Django API, and we're going to use Unicorn to serve it. We've done this already. This is just an extension of it. So not long ago, you learned how to use Docker Compose to coordinate running Postgres container with a Django REST framework container. To get up to speed, you can use the Wine API. So what I would do now is I would go get this. I would go get the Wine API because this is what we're going to be using it, cloning it, right? And we're going to use the Compose V to start. I would start fresh here. So clone and pull that specific branch, right? You're going to add this specific Docker file. At the root of the project. Oh, I have this. I can go with this. Once you clone it, you're just going to get this folder. And you can see that I made all my changes here. So the Compose V2 start branch. And then at the root, you're just going to clone that doc file. This is exactly what I have. Right. Can anyone walk me through what this Docker file says?
It looks like it's running the command.
All of it from the top.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just creating the work directory.
From the top. Read this for
me. It's importing Python 3.11 -buster.
What is that though? Like just in the grand sense of things, like at the macro level.
That's an image. Well, that's an image from Docker Hub, I guess.
Under the hood, what is that? It's just what?
It's just a
don't overthink it.
It's just it's just an image where it's got
yeah, but what does the image have? You're on the right track.
The image has Python 3.11 Buster and all its packages installed for it.
Yeah, it's just code, right?
Mm-hmm.
An image is just pre-baked code, right?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, right, go grab this image, right? That's got a bunch of baked in stuff in it, and we're going to go off of that. And whatever we need, we're going to put it on top. We're going to build off of this point right here. But it's just code, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, keep going.
And then it's creating a work directory called source from the root, or adding it to the root, adding the directory source to the root of the container. Then it's copying the requirements.txt to that source or to the root, and then it's running Python pip install requirements text, which is going to install all of the packages and stuff for it. And then it's copying everything within, looks like it's copying everything within the root folder, all your files and stuff, and then it's running the command. What is that? Gunicorn?
Yeah, Gunicorn.
Gunicorn.
Gunicorn, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's binding that to the port 8000, and then it's performing a workers, I guess a workers flag, where it's the workers is combining 3 different things. I don't know what that 3 stands for.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just running a command to, hey, run this Docker container.
Yeah, and then
right.
Yeah, and
that works, Cisco. Thank you. Okay. So people always kind of gloss over line 1. But just so you know how important this is, just know you can create your own image. This is kind of outside of the scope of this lesson, but you can create your own image. right? I'll give you a perfect example. I was working on an application that was microservices. We had 26 containers, right? But a lot of the code in all 26 containers was the same, but every container did something a little different. So what we did was instead we pulled the lightest Linux image, right? Then we added a bunch of stuff to it and we created our own image that all 26 containers can use of all the shared code. That way, each of those containers doesn't have to run those commands. That saves on compute, streamlines the process. And if we ever need to make a change, we make a change to that image. And it propagates across the 26 containers. Right?
Gotcha.
Right. Again, outside of the scope of this, but just understanding small nuances of that will really help you long term. Right. Eventually, one of your solutions for a problem will be exactly what I just described. So instead of pulling this very basic image and having all 26 containers run a bunch of commands, you just do it once. All right, cool. All right, so you're just literally going to follow these instructions. You're going to create this Docker file, right? And you're going to update Docker Compose, right? And this is really important here. How many containers is this launching? This Docker Compose?
2.
Which ones?
The API and the DB.
Exactly. What's this depends comment? This is actually really important. You probably ran into these issues earlier in the week.
Yeah, the API depends on the DB.
What does that mean?
It is going to it's basically telling you the API to get the data from the DB.
And also wait for it, right?
Okay.
When you're spinning up two containers, right, you can get into weird race conditions. It's saying, hey, this depends on that. You need to wait until that initializes and then grab it or connect to it. Make sense? You run into these race conditions in software engineering all the time, right? Something's not quite ready, and some other service is trying to ping it, and then it's returning, a failed request. You have to tell it if it's a race condition. You have to tell it, hey, this depends on that, or hey, wait until this is ready to go, and then ping it. Then give me the real response. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you need to add Unicorn, just a dependency in your requirements txt file, and then finally go into your settings.py, right? And you're going to update your database. And remember, instead of localhost, you're going to have DP because that's where your API is going to point, right? And the port being forward 5432. I kind of jumped the gun here. This is saying the exact same thing. You're replacing localhost with DB because we're no longer running PSQ and Django in the same environment. Remember, 2 different containers. Each is being containerized, and the DB name we use in our Docker Compose references the Postgres database we're going to use. You're also going to update the port to 5432, so we'll no longer need to map ports in the Docker Compose, right? And then you just run your normal Docker Compose up D. Okay, if this is the first time you run this, or you're starting with a fresh volume, you'll need to apply a database migrations. So you can do it a couple ways. You can Docker exec and run your migrations, or if you have a little bash script, you can edit that and run it. This just gives you the commands that you can run. So don't forget, after you run all that, make your migrations. And then you can actually ping it with Postman. And it's supposed to work, right? All right, so let's talk about Nginx a little bit. Nginx. Does anybody know what Nginx is by chance?
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just saying I never heard of it. No.
Oh.
Say that again.
Well, Adam, what'd you say?
I didn't hear it.
I have no idea what it is.
No worries. Go ahead, Cisco. Give it a shot.
It's just my understanding that it's a middleman. It acts as a middleman for making requests from the front end to your back end.
Yeah, it's a server, but it also acts as middleware. You can, I mean, you can classify it as middleware because middleware has a really broad definition, right? It's just some kind of software that lies between two things, more or less, right?
Yeah.
And this middleware can do a bunch of different things, right? It's great. Frankly, you're only limited by your imagination. You can do a whole host of different things. So today we're going to talk about this Nginx. So when you run the above commands, you're actually going to be pinging the API directly. But for a multitude of different reasons, people typically don't like that. The main reason is really just security, right? They can mess up something on your backend, right? If you just give everybody access to your unprotected API and database, right? So here comes Nginx. So Gunicorn is not really meant to directly handle requests from the outside world. Instead, we should have a web server handle any requests that come in and decide where to hand them off. This extra complexity might not make sense now, but when you add React to the mix later, it will be essential. So Nginx is a production grade web server with a market share of about 1/3. The other big one is called the Platoon. So that is what we will use as a public interface. Here's a diagram of your desired application architecture. So you have a client, right? A client is just any person's device, right? Or graphic user interface, like your browser or Postman, right? Nginx lies in the middle as this kind of middleware, right? And it handles your requests. So as a client, I'm making a request to your API. I actually have to go to Nginx, right? So it hits Nginx, and then Nginx decides what to do with that request. Does it forward it on to your API or does it not? Does everyone understand that?
Yes.
Yes. I think earlier in the week, I described an example where a middleware could do a whole host of different things. And I gave the example of, hey, if there's an HTTP request, drop it. Only forward requests that are HTTPS. And middleware can do that. Nginx can do that. Make sense? Or hey, any IP within this CIDR range we know comes from Eastern Europe and it's probably malicious. Drop it. And don't ever forward that to my API. You can also do that. Now, things get a little bit more complex. I'm going to get to your question in just 1 second, right? This is, again, a little outside of the scope of this, but it's important to understand it for the simple fact that one, is cool, and two, eventually you'll run into problems like this, right? Once you get into big applications that cross country boundaries, right? Certain data, especially PII, can't leave that country's boundary. So you'll have a lot of rules like this where requests are made to pull data from a country whose laws don't allow that data to leave that nation. So that data will be dropped, or those requests will be dropped. Make sense?
Yeah.
That doesn't apply here, but that's still pretty cool to know, right? Eventually, there's a lot of like real world applications for stuff like this. Go ahead, Art.
We talked a little bit about throttling the other day. I imagine this Nginx is also going to prevent multiple or like multiple requests at a certain time.
I don't know if Nginx does that natively, but something could be added to it, right? It could potentially do that. Yes. But yeah, middleware can be known to do that. It could also load balance, not necessarily throttle, but increase the amount of servers that it sends it to, right? So that's actually the opposite of throttling. Slowing things down is saying, hey, no, raise the number of servers handling requests, right? So my application doesn't crash, right? My favorite example is like any kind of online game. Back in the day, we used to play Halo in college, right? Sometimes there'd be like, if it was like 4 a.m. on a Tuesday, there'd be like 3,000 worldwide players, right? But Saturday at 2 p.m., there could be 8 million worldwide players, right? That application needs to scale to handle 3,000 and not burn extra compute and burn money that doesn't need to, but it also needs to handle the spike on a Saturday afternoon where everyone's gaming. Make sense? So again, this middleware can do a whole host of different things. Again, you're only really limited by your imagination. It can do anything. Make sense?
Yep.
Yep. It can even route suspicious requests, right, to another server for that request to be inspected. And depending on the outcome of that, it can then forward that request to your API, right, or reject it. Does all of that make sense? You're kind of getting into like somewhat complex like systems design. But again, I think it's really cool to know that stuff because eventually you will run into it. And the further you get in your career, like ultimately how you end up, at least in like big software and big tech, ultimately how you end up making the big money is being able to understand and architect these really big systems, right? For companies that pay a lot of money. Anyway, okay. So Nginx acts as this like middleman, middleware. I'm glad you used that word, Cisco. You have the right idea, right? That passes it off to Unicorn, who then pings your API, your DRF application, right? And ultimately pings Postgres, which is where all your data is. Okay, so from now on, the client will only talk directly to the Nginx web server. You will need to do some customization in the Nginx container, and that's just creating a folder called web server and then creating a Docker file, right? And adding this to it. So eventually you're going to have a little folder like this. And you're going to have a little Docker file that says this. Anyone besides Cisco, what does line 1 say? So you're creating this web server, this Nginx web server, that's going to act as this like reverse proxy, right? That the client, instead of a client pinging your API directly, it's going to ping this middleware called Nginx, right? So we're creating this web server. What's line 1 say?
That's just all the prepackaged information again. And it's interesting, Guillermo, is like when we first started, we were using Alpine, and then at some point we had, well, not for Nginx, but for Python, and we had to move from Alpine to Buster because in like Buster, they said it was a little bit more robust. So I guess this is just Alpine's just a more watered down image.
Yeah, yeah. It's coming from Nginx, right? And it's prepackaged with the least amount of stuff. It's very light. When people talk about software, when they say it's light, it means it's less code, right? Which depending on your use case might be useful, right? So this is a really light image. Now, unless you had like an intimate understanding of like Nginx images, you don't necessarily need to know that. But it's good to understand at least what you're looking at, right? We're starting from a very simple base image and creating this Nginx web server. Yes? Cool. All right. So the Docker file is pretty simple. I just showed it to you. We're just going to copy over a config file that will tell Nginx how we want things set up, right? So in that same folder, my web service folder, I'm going to have this default conf file, right? That's going to tell me that originally looks like this. I know mine had the core stuff on there. We're going to get to that in just 1 second, right? But it says, hey, this default conf file has this listed where it says, hey, upstream API, right, port 8000, right, and the server is going to listen on 80 and the location, and this is really important here, /API proxy pass HTTP API. How do you think this Nginx proxy server affects your routes of your Django application? Remember, clients are not pinging your API directly anymore. They're going through Nginx, right? So how is this going to change your routes on the back end? Anyone know? Your hint's right here. And think about what's happening. This is happening. So it used to be, right? They were pinging /wines, right? But now they're not pinging your API directly. They're going through Nginx. So what's going to be,
Yeah.
how are your URLs going to be affected?
It's just adding /API to the front of wines to
Yeah.
to the front of our original.
And when you go to your app, I already did it, so I could just show you, right? You're going to notice exactly that. We're changing the route a little bit because we're not going to the API directly anymore. We're going through Nginx. All right. So you don't need to be an expert on Nginx, and a lot of the stuff that we discuss is just informational for you to kind of understand them, kind of like the bigger picture on why all this stuff is important. So don't worry about it. But if you want to read more, you can click on links. Again, the two big web servers are Apache and Nginx. I think both those combined have like way more than half the market share. Okay, so basically we're saying that we want a server to listen on port 80, the default HTTP port. We want to forward any requests that have an API prefix to be passed to Gunicorn application served a server called API in the Docker Compose file. One benefit of this setup is that we no longer have to worry about CORS errors. All client requests go to the same IP address and port. So from here, we'll add a web server to our Docker Compose YAML. While you're at it, go ahead and update the API and DP services since they are only accessed from inside the Docker network. So you're going to update your Docker Compose to look like this. What do you notice is different?
Now you have Nginx under services.
Yeah, right. So now I have 3, not 2, right? So I have API, I have my Nginx, right? And I have my DB. Boom, boom, boom. And notice where Docker file is telling me exactly where to find that Docker file. So I can build that Nginx container. All right, so notice how we removed the port mapping for DB and a mapping for DB and API. We no longer need it since Nginx config is what handles routing to port 8000. And Gunicorn is what handles listening and receiving at port 8000, right? What's happening here? All your client requests are going to Nginx, and Nginx knows to, hey, all the requests, keyword here, regardless of where they come from, once they hit me, Nginx, I'm going to send everything to 8000. And my API is listening on 8000, so we're good. Here's a huge advantage of this, right? Remember when you could just ping your API directly? You have a URL, right?
Yep.
With Nginx, right, you have to account for all those URLs. If I'm pinging that API with a bunch of different URLs, I have to account for all those URLs, regardless if they're like legitimate requests or not, right? But when I have this Nginx in the middle of it, everything goes there, right? And there can be logic in that middleware that says, hey, right, drop anything that's not HTTPS, anything coming from this region I know is malicious, drop that, right? And only forward security stuff, like stuff that's legitimate to my API. And they don't actually have to know my API endpoint, do they? They just have to know Nginx, and Nginx will handle the rest. It will route everything, right? And all big applications on the internet run a version of this. You're never going to get direct access to their backend. Why? It's mostly security reasons. It's actually almost exclusively security reasons, right? If it's a big money-making application, obviously no one wants you to take it down, right? I think they estimated that like for every extra like 5 seconds or something, or 3 seconds or something, the Amazon website like takes to load, they lose X millions of dollars because they'll just go somewhere else and buy it. So it needs to load incredibly quickly. And it always has to be up, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. We talked about routing. You also have to make some updates on the Django application. You can go to settings and you're going to say, hey, allow a host, and you just put this little star character in there. I can go in there, settings. Probably at the top is my guess. Yeah, you're allowed host, allow from anywhere. So here, this is just the development application, right? But ultimately on real world applications, you'll limit this to a specific CIDR range, IP range, right? Or even just one, depending on exactly how your application's set up. So only this application can route traffic to this endpoint. And I already showed you this, right? You're going to add that prefix on wines and accounts or any other route, right? Because now it's going through Nginx with the API prefix. Like when you go here, this could have been anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been anything. I put API, but I could have easily called it Nginx. And that would have been my prefix. That would have been fine. All right. So now when we try to access a resource, you'll have to go through the web server after running migration to get your token, right? Well, what about localhost itself? You're going to see a 404. And this is exactly where you need to be. Earlier, we set up an Nginx config to route requests to API, to /API. We haven't added anything yet for the root path. So notice how Nginx default config writes out a code block location API blank here. Right, you're just going to have to add this right here. And what is this doing? I know you don't have a lot of context, but you could probably figure it out. What's Nginx job? Is to route these requests, right? And given the type of request, to eventually serve up what?
For that one, it's going to serve up the static files.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know this is kind of not intuitive right now, and that's okay. It is a little confusing, right? But Nginx, this middleware, will take the request, forward on to your API. And if your API says, hey, serve up that static, those static files, it's going to serve them up. And that's what this is doing. And this configuration, I'll show you here we go. This configuration is not particularly intuitive. That's just how Nginx wants it written. So this is what I have here. This you'll get into here in a little bit. But this is exactly what you were just looking at. Hey, these are where my static files are. This is my default HTML. This is what the client's going to see, right? And this is fallback saying, hey, give me the URI and try to find this HTML file and serve it up if the request calls for it. All right. Okay, so let's go back to our web server or back to our Docker file. And I added this file here, right? Which is what we were discussing earlier. What is this file? What is this line doing? Line 5.
It's basically going into your static folder and looking for any HTML files. And in particular for this one, it'll be the index.html file.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about something that's kind of confusing right here. There's a proxy, right? There's a proxy server. In a proxy server, I have a client device, right? And I hit a proxy server, something like Nginx, right? And Nginx then forwards that request further down my application, right? If it's a legitimate request or if it meets X criteria. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
That's a proxy. What you're using here is a reverse proxy. And it's a little confusing because I don't think you were ever taught what a proxy is, but I just gave you kind of a down and dirty of what a proxy is. You're using now what's a reverse proxy. The only difference between a proxy and a reverse proxy is a proxy works on behalf of the client, the one making the request. A reverse proxy works on behalf of the server, the one returning the response. I know that's a little confusing, but just sit on marinate on that for a little bit, right? But what this reverse proxy is going to do is going to do a little bit of both. You're going to have to go through Nginx to ping your API, right? But when your API returns a response, right, it's going to grab whatever data it needs from the database, send it back through Nginx, and Nginx is going to know to serve up that HTML with that data. Clear as mud?
Yep.
So it needs to know, right? So that Nginx needs to know, hey, where is that? Where are those files that I'm going to be asked to serve up? So you need to copy them in there. And that's what this is doing. It needs to have access to them, right? Okay, you're making this request that eventually you want me to serve up some HTML. Cool. I don't have that. Can you give it to me so that I can serve it up? And that's what you're doing. So this is a line that I just added. In our Docker file, let's add another line, right? Here we're going to copy the static files over into the directory of Nginx so it can look inside and have access to that. These static files are going to be the same ones from day 14. And you go in here, I literally just copied and pasted. I went in here and I copied the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. So you can go in there and just do the same. And ultimately, your structure is going to look like this. Which is actually very similar to what you've been doing all week. What's the only difference here? There's only one thing we've added today. What is it?
The web server.
Yeah. But that changes a couple things, right? We injected this middleware into our application, right? What are some changes that you're going to have to make here? We added the web server. And what else from your application is going to have to change? There's one more big thing that's going to have to change. We talked about it earlier. And this is probably going to mess you up when you're running through this. Your what?
Your API.
Your API routes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've added. Okay, we're not going straight through our Django, through our DRF API anymore, right? We're not pinging it directly. Now we're pinging Nginx. So we're going, instead of client, right, Django API database, we're going client Nginx API database. Yes?
Yep.
So a lot of the problems you're going to have when you start running through this on your own is going to be route based. As long as you remember to make all your migrations. Yes?
Got you.
Okay. This just goes over some errors. This goes over. Actually, you're probably not going to run into this error. I did run into it yesterday. We're going to talk about this because this is what you were seeing in my conf file earlier. So one of the first issues that you run into may be a cores related issue when you're building this out. While using Nginx saves us from having to set up middleware to handle cores in Django, we'll still have to set up some configuration inside Nginx. Fortunately, it's much simpler, and this is what you saw in my little conf file, right? You add this, hey, access control allow star always, and you allow the client to make all these kinds of requests. Hey, from any API, allow them to get, post, put, and delete from any API. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and this is just inside the location API block. And that's what I had earlier. And this is some of my logic here. So go in there and give Nginx those permissions. I have it here. Yeah. This is what you saw earlier. Now I have it all in one place. Obviously, the lesson we're going through it piecemeal, and I already did it, so I'm just showing you all of it. Okay, cool. The deployment, we're actually, if there's time, we're actually going to go over the EC2 deployment because I think this is pretty important. But this is just a review section of a lesson you've already learned, which is this one, deploying to AWS, right? Which the down and dirty is exactly what you download the repo onto the EC2. Right, you download all the needed dependencies like Docker onto your EC2. You deploy your application, and you have it run on EC2. Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that if we have time, or if one of you gets it working, we might do a walkthrough together, right, of just one person deploying it. Actually, I would like to do that. That'd be good. This is the HTML. This is deploying AWS. Give me 1 second. All right, this is the deployment section. We're going to pause right here. We're not going to get into the deployment section because everything that we covered right now is going to take you a little bit. So depending on where we are by like lunchtime, we'll deploy hopefully one of them to AWS. If not, that's okay. You can handle this on your own at a later time. This is what it should look like. Something like this. I think I messed with the HTML or whatever. So you're going to have a login, user one, password. You're going to submit. My stuff didn't work. Let me try this one more time. Lucas, that's this one. Oh, there you go. It's going to look like this, and then you get info. You know, I loaded this one myself, right? And that you can see me debugging here, making sure I was getting the token, and then log out, get info, something like that. Questions about anything that we covered so far?
Nope.
Does everyone still remember their AWS credentials? Okay. It's okay if you don't. You can reset them later. But the main thing you need to do, what's the main thing you need to do here for this lesson?
Configure that Nginx file.
Yes. Grab Wine API, pull the compose v2 start branch, implement Nginx, and see if you can get it to run. Let's go through the steps. Like if I was to cut you loose, how would you tackle this? You're about to go through this. All right. So I just taught you that mini lesson on Nginx. You're going to have to add it as this type of middleware to your full stack application, right? Shortly, I'm going to give you a break. You're going to come back to breakout rooms and you're going to start. How would you go about doing this? Walk me through at least a handful of steps so I know you're not completely lost. Did I just come off as a ass hat with that statement? Probably. I just
Um,
want you to know out of everyone at Code Platoon, no, and I'm proud of this. If you combine all the complaints all the CP staff have ever gotten, ever in their history of existence, I have more complaints against me than everybody at CP combined. I just want you to know that. Something I'm incredibly proud of. And the most common complaint that I get is Guillermo is mean. Who says that? You're an adult, dude. Anyway, that's the most common one. Uh, anyway, back to this. That's neither here nor there. Steps. Walk me through it from the very beginning. This is exactly what you're going to do when you come back from break. Step one, what is it?
clone the repo and check out the branch.
Clone API, wine API repo. Check out compose v2 start, compose v2 start.
Mhm.
Next,
Virtual environment and then requirements.txt.
you are going to create a virtual environment and pip install. Then
Make sure whatever you clone down works.
how?
By getting it running, and you can.
Let's look at it. What exactly are we getting here? All right, this is exactly what you're going to clone, right? Let's look at it. You're going to clone this. Okay. I'm going to go into requirements. Cool. Whatever. What's the first thing I should look for here?
The Docker Compose,
Why is that? That is the right answer, but why?
um, to see what you're going to be setting up or what containers you're going to run.
You're going to make it, Nicole. I believe in you. The rest of you are going to make it too, potentially, but I need to see more. All right. So what is this deploying?
Now, this is just a database.
Okay. So I'm going to deploy database. Deploy database. I can figure out how to spell database. Deploy database and do what after I deploy it?
I would just check to make sure, you can get into it and you have tables and you get your there should be some URLs already there, like routes to ping to make sure they're working in
Whoa,
Postman.
whoa, 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 whoa. This is just the database. I
Oh,
don't have any routes.
okay. Where is it? Let me see.
How about deploy database and maybe put some data in there? Maybe
Populate.
a little of this, right? Deploy database and insert data. Validate everything works. The first four steps here are crucial because it validates your Docker Compose works. Your database is accessible. It has some data in it, right? And now that's part one. You have the database. It works, right? You've exec into it. The data that's supposed to be there is in there. It works. Your Docker Compose works. Yes, it spins up your container with your database. Awesome. This is great. Now that I know that my Docker Compose spins up my container with my Postgres database, and all that works, now what do I want to do?
Now you want to do you want to create your Docker Compose file in the root directory?
It is in the root directory, it looks like.
I'm sorry, your Docker file, the Docker So we got that up and running, right? As
My
is.
database works. So let's start from there. All right, my Docker Compose works, my database works, right? We're on
Mhm.
step 5. Awesome. We got one of the pieces up and running. Now, what's the next piece here, logically?
Uh, well, yeah, I was just let's see.
Start with the API.
Okay, what part?
Um, Making sure that's running so or that works. So updating or what was it? Going into your because you have the wine API file there.
I have a wine API, 5
Mhm.
routes.
Mhm.
Yep. So then it would be that Docker file for the wine API, and then adding your Docker Compose or updating your Docker Compose.
Create Docker file for what? For API,
Yeah.
right?
hmm
Then
Updating your Docker Compose.
update Docker Compose. Oh, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but a lot of our documentation, the command is Docker file, but that's an old command. It's deprecated. Now it's Docker. I mean, it used to be Docker hyphen compose, and now it's Docker space compose. You guys catch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. So our documentation needs to be updated. Anyway, but again, things change quickly in tech. Okay, so update, so create Docker file for API and then update Docker Compose, right? Docker Compose. I'm going to update Docker Compose. Say YAML or YAML? Close enough. All right. Update Docker Compose file to do what? So it does what? So I created this Docker file for my API, right? I looked through my Django project, but now I need to update my Docker Compose YAML so that it does what?
So it'll start the Docker container for the API.
So update Docker Compose YAML so that it launches API, right?
Mhm.
And database. Because
Yes.
you're just updating that same Docker Compose. All right, so update Docker Compose YAML so that it launches the API and the database. Cool. Next thing, we're going to have to validate what?
Validate it works.
Validate that the API can do what? What does the API need to ping?
The database.
Right?
Mhm.
And the first 7 steps here are going to probably be some of the hardest. You need to get this up and going. But you've done this at least 2 times already. So you should have you should have a better understanding about all this works. All right, so you're going to validate the API can reach the database. You're going to check with Postman, right? And only then can you start doing what? Implement what?
Nginx.
Implement Nginx, right? Implement Nginx. How about create web server folder and configure Nginx, right? And then the S would be update Django API routes, right? Validate client can reach. Violate client can CRUD across app. Across app. Roughly, this is what it looks like. So you have a lot to do before you can even implement Nginx. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions about anything that we covered?
I got one change to recommend making
Yeah.
to the Docker Compose YAML.
Yeah.
Just click on it there. So the Docker file that's being referenced,
Wait. Are you making a change to the steps here? Or what exactly are you?
well,
You know you can. I mean, we
well,
just did.
yeah. So based off of the instructions from the lab,
Yep.
the Docker file, if you well, in the lab, there in the lab it's referencing the Docker file for the Nginx to be lowercase. It's the path is .web server / Docker file with the
Uh,
lowercase, and I had a problem getting it to run, so I had to change that to an uppercase D.
oh, that's an improvement on our lesson too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Keep scrolling. I think it was up at the top, or it was actually after it in added.
here.
Yeah, right. Oh, so you got it. See, it's a capital D there, but when I actually got it, yeah, that's funny. It actually entered as lowercase d for me for some reason. I don't know. So
Human error, Cisco. Alrighty. Where are we? I don't know how useful this will be, but let me drop it in the questions notes for and give me 1 second. Realize I don't really know how to spell. If that's okay. All right. So depending, let me stop sharing here. All right. So depending on how far along we get with that, we'll come back and hopefully at least one person will finish and we can deploy theirs on EC2. Any last minute questions before we go on break? And we break out into breakout rooms.
I just have a comment that little summary, the index that page that you just set up.
Yep.
That's extremely helpful for me. That's how my brain works.
Okay.
So and that's important to find different ways for people to understand things because there's going to be people that are more advanced, people that have different understandings. And so if you offer a couple different options, I think you reach more people. So as far as like not just knowing the technology, but being able to teach the technology, I think is key.
Yeah, no, for sure. Little start script for teaching. All right, guys. Definitely go grab a breakfast sandwich, whatever, come back. The breakout rooms will be open. Let me stop sharing here. All right, everyone. All right, everyone. We actually missed a step and I just updated it on the hotel evening weekend questions. After step 9, our step 9 is update Django API routes, but you also have to update the routes in your JavaScript. That's your front end. Right? And what's the prefix that has to go in front of it?
API.
Yeah, API. Cisco and I, well, Cisco was having an issue. We just caught it just now. We just missed it when we were writing the notes. Didn't even think about it. So definitely, because remember that front end, right? It's no longer going straight to your API. So it won't be /wines. It's going to be /APIs /wines. Same thing with accounts, right? And if you look at your wine folder and your URLs, that's how it is there. Right? So your front end should know that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Cisco, I know where you're at. Nicole, where are you? Status update.
I have got all my containers running, and might be I'm hitting an issue with my run server, so I'm working through that.
When you say all containers, including Nginx?
Yes. So I have my
Okay.
API, my Postgres, and my Nginx running, but when I went to go run server, I got a new error.
Okay.
So I am working through that error now.
Oh, good. You guys are progressing faster than I thought. Nice job. Joe?
I'm working on the Nginx stuff right now. I guess I would be on step 8.
So you got two air containers running, the
Yeah,
API and
yes, I'm just doing I'm updating the web server stuff right now.
okay. You tested it with Postman before implementing Nginx, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right, Adam, what about you guys?
I'm just getting the containers running right now.
You're what?
I'm working on getting the containers running.
Okay. So you haven't got any of the containers running?
Oh no, I have.
Which ones?
I have one. Well, I have the Docker Compose and the
Yeah, but the Docker Compose can launch many containers. How many containers is it launching currently?
I have for the database.
Okay. All righty. What about Art?
Yeah, I'm a little bit farther behind, just kind of building up. I had a little technical issue with the Ubuntu.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Okay. Cool. I hope I didn't sound accusatory. Like, where are you? Just remember, all this is for you, and you'll go as far as you're willing to go. So don't think you owe me any answers or anything. I'm just the guy that periodically teaches a class. Make sense? I'm not like your teacher in high school that's going to be bad and call your parents. I don't know if they even still do that.
Are you just saying this now because you're worried we're gonna call you mean or something?
Oh, dude, I don't care, man.
I'm just messing with
What are they
you,
gonna do?
bro. Yeah,
Fire me? Go ahead, dude. Like,
I'm just messing with you, bro.
I'm severely underpaid for this role, just so you know. And this is
I'm
being
gonna put
recorded.
this
So
to
everyone
rest.
know. Wait, am I being? Yeah, it's being recorded. So it's there for posterity's sake. Although the last time I complained about that, I did get a slight raise. Maybe it'll happen again.
It's
Maybe I'm
time for
doing
a
this
raise.
tactically.
It's time for a raise.
Definitely. All right, guys. So I just wanted to do a status update here. I kind of want to cut you loose another 40 minutes and see how far you get, and then probably 12:30ish. We'll get back together. We'll debrief one more time, and then depending where you are, you can get started on the assessment, or you can start deploying your application on AWS. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I know we're a little short on time today because of the assessment, but I do not want to downplay the importance of understanding AWS. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because I work at AWS. It's just really
I
all
was
cloud
just about to
stuff.
say that. I was
No,
just
no,
like,
no,
you're so
no,
biased, bro.
no. Just it's not AWS. It can be GCP. It can be Azure. It can be any Oracle cloud. It doesn't really matter as long as you understand the concept of cloud. It's like understanding GitLab or Bitbucket. As long as you know one, you're going to more or less know the other. Like, we have like API Gateway on AWS, but I'm sure Microsoft has, and GCP have their own version of that. We have S3 buckets on AWS, but Microsoft, Oracle, all those guys have the same version of that. I don't know what it's called because I don't use it, but they have the same idea. Make sense? It's just different flavors of it. But understanding conceptually to do that is important in pretty much every single job that I've seen lately. Why is that? Because even if a company is not natively on cloud, they at least probably have some resources on cloud, either GCP or Oracle or AWS or something like that. So if you look at all the dev postings recently, almost every single one of them has some kind of cloud technology as a requirement. Has everyone noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them do. So understanding a little bit of cloud will be in your best interest going forward. Because even if they're not fully native cloud, they're going to have some resources in the cloud, right? And you'd be surprised how few people really understand any of the cloud services, really. You see people that just always develop locally, and something as simple as deploying a GitLab instance on an EC2 so they can use it internally. Even that's difficult, right? Something pretty rudimentary. Anyway, rudimentary to someone that knows cloud, right? But for someone that's never seen it, they're like, oh, that's crazy. I don't know how to do that. You know?
Right.
Go ahead, Art.
I apologize if I missed this, but I was looking through the curriculum for today and it was talking about the Junicorn and how that's going to allow us to avoid having to manually execute, manually run the server. And I know we talked about setting up that Junicorn, but I guess what I missed is that how is that going to run the server for us so we don't have to do the Python 3 managed PY server again?
It does
It's
it.
go ahead, Cisco.
No, so I just noticed that it does it for you, or it does the run server. It performs the run server for you. It starts up your containers, and once you go through the process, it just saves you that extra step. So I just noticed that it does it for you. You don't have to actually perform the run server function again.
So as you make changes, and if you wanted to say or like shut down the servers, turn on, put it back on, you don't have to do that anymore. You make a change, it's going to actually just update for you.
Mm. Yes, so if you notice in the Docker Compose part, well, for Nginx, you got that restart always, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been, stopping and doing the Docker Compose down and, deleting the volumes and images and everything, and just starting with the fresh install, doing another fresh install all over again. But um, yeah, essentially, if you got like changes to your models, I believe if you have changes to your models, all you have to do is just do the make migrations and migrate. Is that correct, Guillermo?
Nailed it.
Okay, thank you.
So Gunicorn is simply just what? In its most basic sense, it's a what? Let's start from the beginning. What exactly is it? It's just a
It's just
Gunicorn.
it's just a program, or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just a dependency, right? Some code that someone else wrote that you import into your project. And Gunicorn specifically does what? It's just code that links what to what. It links
It links your API,
Nginx to
your backend.
your API, your Django backend, right? So it manages that connection for you. You don't have to do it.
Right.
Nice, right?
Mhm.
That's what it does.
Thank you.
Yep, yep. All right, you guys. Gonna work for maybe like 40 more minutes, see how far you get, and then we'll touch base again. And then I'll open the assessment.
All right.
Yes? All right,
Sounds
keep going. How do we do? Where'd you end up, Cisco?
I'm just still stuck with the front end interface. I'm actually getting errors in my app.js with the fetch request.
You should fix the routes.
Yeah. Yeah, I fixed the routes.
Share screen.
Okay.
Let's do a little debugging here.
Okay. I've been
Because I
trying
think whatever error you're running into, I think the rest is probably going to run into it here as well.
actually been
Alrighty,
deleting.
what's the main error here?
So this is the error I'm getting. I'm gonna try to do the fetch. It's basically saying it's failed to execute JSON response. And when I go, and then here it's basically the wait basic fetch command here is bringing back this catch error. So that's what I was trying to figure out, why is it doing that.
I know, but is this on sign up?
Yes, this is on sign up.
Okay. Anyone, how would you debug this? Not you, Cisco. Based on just the little information that we have here. What seems to be the issue? Go back to your console log, Cisco. What seems to be the issue here? It says it right there.
The failure to execute JSON, does that mean something's not serialized? And it can't be read?
Something like that. So make it a little bit clearer for me though. So what's the error here based on the message? It has to do with parsing here. So it's having trouble parsing the JSON, right? So how would you go about debugging this? What's the first thing you're going to try?
Go look at all your serializations.
That's really broad, not quite. This is something you can do. The problem's with his with his app.js file, right? So we can catch something right there, right? Shows where the first error is happening, Cisco.
Right here.
Okay, it looks like the error is on line 14, right? So what do we put on line 13?
Do a console.log.
What?
Console.log, let's see.
Just response, right?
Response, yeah.
It feels like the problem is when you're parsing it to JSON, right? So it's not coming in. It looks like what's coming in can't be parsed to JSON. That's what it looks like. Try that. Let's see what we get here. Just response. You can put a prefix on it, response in big letters, so we know it's coming in. Refresh it. Let's try it. Does this give us any more information?
That is the other unusual thing. So I got
Clear everything in your console log and run it again in your console. All right, let's try this again.
No.
What's happening?
I'm not getting anything back.
That's the issue. So you can't
all.
parse. You can't parse something. You can't parse null.
Oh,
That's your error, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's
So
tough.
all right. So we figured that out. So what's the issues there? Just based on this. Where's your issue then? It's not your front end. It's where? Well, it could be your front end, but it's not your front end yet. So what's the issue just based on this? Anyone? What part of the application is returning null?
So that's the token. That's talking about the token there. But notice when I refreshed it, why isn't the console log showing up here? Shouldn't it show up? Or do I have to? I noticed
No,
I had
you have to make a request, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the issue? What's returning null here? What part of the application?
That's the parts returning null is the trying to get this token off. This console log token is what.
All right, so your request is returning null. The response is what you're trying to parse is null, and what else is null? You got two nulls, right? So where are those console logs? Look at your app.js. You got two nulls. Look at your app.js. The code, dude.
Oh, okay.
Where are your two console logs?
Got one here.
Yeah, but we didn't return that, did we?
No, it didn't come out. So this, yeah.
So what is it? Where is your two nulls? Go up, go up, go up.
Right.
There's one, and go up, and right there, body token. Right, That also put on line 91, say token as a prefix, and then we're gonna run it again.
Okay. Mm,
All right, run it again.
and we got that last one back. The other one didn't show up. For some
It
odd
didn't
reason.
show up at all. Why is that? Clear everything?
Yeah.
Refresh your page. That was strange. Now run it again. Sign up. All right, you got one null, and you're not getting. Where's that null coming from? You have too many console log. Well, not necessarily too many, but find where that is and let's find it in your app.js. You need to put prefixes on all of them. It's like
Yeah,
because
it's
we
not
don't know where the error is happening.
right. It's not refreshing the app.5.js. It's still showing the old one. So
So what's the issue? We didn't catch this, guys. What's the issue? You need to rebuild everything. Rebuild everything.
well, rebuild everything. Yeah, that's what I was asking for.
Yeah.
It's not.
No. You got to catch me there, right? I didn't catch it. I forgot it was containerized.
Yeah. Which sucks. It makes it a whole lot more time consuming.
That's why you have to have a script, right?
Yeah. Well, just to just to have to. I love it if it just refreshed off building the JS, but
Yeah.
all right. Try this again. See what happens here. Still got one null there. First one pops up on refresh. So
That's your console logout window load that I saw earlier.
okay. All right. There we go.
All right, here we go.
We got the response back.
All right. So what's the response?
My response is type basic URL. Looks like it's trying to point to that accounts. API accounts. It's going to the right place. It's returning a 204. Okay.
Except it tries to parse what? No content, it looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a failed fetch. Look at that failed fetch. Line 16, click on it. Okay, let's look at line 16. And that's, go up. Yeah, that's the error we're talking about, right? So there seems to be an issue where.
And we're in the URL, maybe the URL that is trying to get the fetch the data from.
Look at line 7. What is line 7 saying?
If response okay.
If it's not okay, right?
Oh,
if it's not okay,
yeah.
Throw an error. So it is okay, because 204 is okay, hit line 12. And that's what we're getting. Right. So we get the response and you can't parse nothing because there's nothing in there. It appears like, and then it's throwing the, and then it's erroring out.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So the error is happening on line 13, which is what we suspected. So we need to figure out why that's happening. Right. It's not returning what it should. So that is it appears to be a Django problem. Right. Because the front end is actually working like it's supposed to. That looks right.
Okay.
Right. Is it a token issue? The next steps would be, hey, figure out if the token is being returned properly and if it's being stored in local storage. and that's what I would fix next. That's what I would look at. Right. It might be a token issue.
Okay. Alrighty.
Alrighty. Good, Cisco. Where everybody else end up?
Confusing myself.
Now, did you figure out adding that element to your database? Adam? Adam?
I think I did. Yeah, I'm just having trouble with the migration. It's giving me an error.
Alrighty. Did you validate that you had at least one wine in the database? Is my internet cutting out?
You know, I didn't check that.
You need to check
A
that
little bit,
before
yeah.
A
you
little
need
broken.
to. Okay, sorry about that. So you need to check that, Adam. Make sure that that works because the rest of the thing's not going to work if that doesn't. Art, where are you? Oh, my internet is acting a fool. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
Alright,
can hear you.
Yeah, your
Can you hear
connection's
us?
a little crappy right now.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, alrighty. Art, where'd you end up? Sorry if I repeated myself. I think I'm
Yeah, you
cutting
know, no problem. Yeah, just I had a little I was doing some troubleshooting because I was having trouble breaking the containers. And what it was is that I still have to use pip3. And so in the Docker file, the requirements.txt is the pip install is just a regular pip. So I commented that out and it created my containers, and then I just manually installed the requirements with the using pip3. So just kind of just still building that up.
Alrighty. Joe, how'd you end up?
I was AFK for a few. I got back a few minutes ago and I'm pretty much at a little past where I was at before. Just still with the web server stuff.
Gotcha. Nicole?
I am troubleshooting this could not translate host DB to address error.
What is it?
But I think I'm it says it's like operational error could not translate host name DB to address, no name nor service name provided or not known. I'm currently rebuilding. I think I might have figured it out, but I'm currently rebuilding, but it's taking a minute to see if
What?
I fixed it. But that's the error.
Gotcha. What is it? What kind of error is it? Do you know what it is?
No. It's what I'm running. So I'm going to run server. So I have everything in there and I kind of backtracked and made sure like my Docker compose matched my Docker file to make sure that it was like reading it right because it was saying it was not doing it. And it all matches, but I keep getting this could not translate host DB to address. So it's something with the database, I think, that I have wrong here. But this is taking a really long time. Did it just die on me?
Can you share your
Should
screen
not take.
just briefly?
Yeah, give me a second. Where's the share button? There it is. I need this.
Somebody wants to help.
Oh yeah, my dog is trying to get at my food.
No.
Uh, do you see any of the screens right now?
Yeah.
Which screen do you see
Yeah. Look at line 19 in your Docker compose.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at 19. Is it called wines? Is your Postgres DB called wines?
Where was I for that? Oh my gosh. Go away. Should be. Oh, that's my Docker compose. That's rewind. Why am I drawing a blank here? That's accounts,
Look
website.
at your settings.
Thank you. I'm like, stop screaming in my ear, bro. Wow, I'm lost. There it
Settings
is.
and wines. Yeah.
Database.
There you go. There's your mismatch.
Where is
Should be
it?
should be DB, right?
So this should be DB?
Is that what it is, Cisco?
Because I was hooking this
Well-
up with names, but if it's needs to be changed to DB here.
Oh wait, give me a second. I didn't see that name first.
Yeah, names. It should be that part. Yeah.
But that's where I'm having the error here, and I don't know what's going on.
Great. No, I'm pretty sure Postgres DB should be DB here.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. That now run it. See if you get the same error or you get a different error. Rebuild everything. DB lowercase.
Yeah, this is for some reason. Can I not? Stop everything. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, the name should match the name. So the name part of this for your settings should match the name of your DB. So where's your settings? Is that your settings on the left there?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
my settings and this is my Docker compose. So
Okay.
I was thinking this is wines because it's the name. But I am getting the same error down here. Could not translate host name. I don't know.
Yeah, my host, I left the host Postgres host. Let's see. It's yeah, the Postgres DB should be the same as your database name in your settings file.
Yeah, you're right. It is wine. Sorry.
Mhm.
Wines for Docker Compose.
Yep. So it's having some
And your settings should be DB for line 92, and that's what you have, right?
Yeah.
settings.
Yeah, yeah, DB for 85. It's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's why I've been
All right, let me see that error again. Go up.
go up.
Could not go all the way up. Does it give us anything more? Could not translate hostname DB to address. No names were provided or not known. Not translate.
Yeah, I don't know what that's. So it's having the issue with Psycop G2 and then Django DB.
Oh, you gotta
Same.
install. You gotta make sure you install that.
Yeah, when I ran the requirements.txt, it wasn't installing Psycop properly. So I had to pip install it separate and then it worked because I got the same error too.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Let's try that.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah.
weird because I didn't get that.
Ah.
Well, I noticed that I actually so in the where is it at? In the Docker file. Where's it at? So in the Docker file, the pip install function wasn't doing it. So I had to put pip3 in front of mine.
You misspelled Psycom.
Oh yeah. Did I do it again?
Yeah, you did. Psycom.
Today I am double fisting Theraflu and coffee, so I'm a little out of it here.
Radical.
I don't know what's been going on, but
Yeah.
Okay.
What I usually have to do is like in parentheses Psycop G and then in brackets binary and then end it with another parentheses.
Yeah, but you shouldn't need to do
What
that.
I had to do originally was it wouldn't install it, so I just took the version out when
Try
I
that.
initially did it, and then I updated it afterwards. So
Try that.
this should be good, but it's all there. And then I did my pip freeze to update. And that's how I got that back because originally it was giving me an issue, so I just took out the version and had it just install it and it went through. But I don't know because
Rebuild all your containers again.
okay, I'm just gonna knock them down and then we'll start from
Yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually get them out and then redo it.
Mhm.
There. Hmm. Maybe that's my issue. Something host not found in upstream API 0. Could be something with my this one, right?
Yeah, go look at your Nginx configuration.
I'm gonna take this out. Let me look at the
No, scroll all the way up.
Okay.
You have
Oh, I have no upstream API server API 0. Yes. Let me pull up the README again.
this looks right.
So I have upstream API server listen 0. Then I have the location API and that. Then I added the root and stuff. Do these go all in the same thing or like I put these separately because it was a different location, right?
I have it all in one, but I don't
Okay.
know if that's going to cause an issue.
Because I wasn't sure because I noticed that like this had location and then you had the API here and then this was inside of it. And then this one was just a
Go
slash.
go back to the README,
Yeah.
to the assignment.
Eh,
Go to the GitHub. I think yours is a little different. Scroll all the way down. Let's
It'll
look at the completed one. The completed one.
okay. Link a new tab and
Web
web
server.
server
Com.
config. All it has in is this.
Cisco, do you have yours complete? Mine's a little different, so I kind of don't want to give you mine. Cisco?
Yeah, mine's showing the same thing that she has pretty much. For that
But you have two location? No way that
yeah, I
you
got
have
two
that.
locations.
Really?
Yeah, hold on, let me, which file is that again? That's the default
Default
comp.
config.
Let's see here. I may be default comp. Where are you? There you go. Yeah, I got two locations as well.
Hey, comment out line 15 and run it again.
Gracefully stopping. Didn't realize it said that. Okay, so try again. Does it say now? Nginx host not found. Yep, still having this thing here. And then host not found upstream API 0. Upstream API server API 0. Right? So it's not finding that?
Yeah, what's happening, it's getting to Nginx and Nginx is not connecting to your API properly. So that's where we're at. We can stop right here. Nicole, I want to release the assessment to everybody and then we can jump in the room. We can figure this out.
Okay.
All right, guys. I added the test. Wait, let me post a link to make sure that you can actually see it. I'll post it on top. Assessment 4. Make sure everyone hit the link. Make sure that you can see it. Everyone click on the link. Let me know if you can't see it.
Got it.
Got it.
I got it.
Yeah, bye.
Working.
Alrighty, guys. I am going to actually stop the recording right here.